Hi everybody, this is Matthew Poes with Poes Acoustics, and I'm talking about measurement positions because the question I've been asked is, hi Matt, you advocate, this is from Martin Mayer by the way, or Maras, to do multiple measurement positions. I assume you mean multiple measurements within the same seat, and if so, how many measurements do you recommend doing? And how far apart? Also, do you recommend doing this for subs time alignment using REW cross correlation time alignment and then vector average? So let's kind of go into this in a couple of things. So first, yes, I advocate for multiple measurements because a single measurement position is not ideal. So something I want to bring up, I wrote an article. It was actually the first article I ever wrote for Audioholics years ago, and it stemmed from the fact that there was some very inaccurate information being portrayed from about room measurements in the forums. And I spoke up in this one forum and I said, well, you got to understand, 2 ears and a brain, which is a common thing that it's a common way of describing the difference between the human hearing system and a microphone. So 2 ears and a brain, the brain being the processing center for it, the ears being like the microphones in a way, they pick up and experience sound in a room differently than an omnidirectional microphone and an FFT analyzer. So when you take measurements in a room at a single position, that does not reflect what you hear, not even at low frequencies. It's a decent enough approximation in a sense, but it doesn't reflect what you hear. Your brain is able to block out certain reflections. Your brain tends to get used to or ignore certain anomalies, but there are some that it's sensitive to and some that it's not. The way that the ear accumulates this information about the room and makes sense of that information too is much more complicated than the way the FFT omnidirectional microphone measurement would, the steady state measurement of the room basically. The steady state measurement of the room is an accumulation of all the reflections at low frequencies, all the reflections in the room over a given amount of time at a single microphone position from a mic that is detecting that information in every direction. One way to kind of understand the difference, relates specifically to the precedence effect, but it helps you to understand how the brain is able to do some advanced processing that a microphone cannot. If you were to go into a room and have a conversation between you and a friend or you and your spouse or whatever, especially if it's a bigger room, that would help quite a bit. You would find that during the conversation, you could attend to their speech and understand their speech extremely well. Even using the best quality omnidirectional microphone money can buy, like a DPA or something like that, or Schroep's. If you were to record that same conversation with the microphone between the two of you, assuming you're not right next to it, but even if you were actually, it would still have this effect, it just would be less pronounced. And then you listen to it over headphones after the fact, you would find that the quality of the speech was a lot worse. And one of the things you would notice is that the reflections and background noises are much louder than you remember them being when you were there. You can actually do this very easily. You don't even need to make a recording. If you hook a system up like that and you monitor it, what you'll find is that if you monitor it and then stop monitoring it and monitor it again with headphones, that every time you put the headphones on, you're going to suddenly hear all these other noises that you're not noticing when you take it off. It isn't that the microphone is picking up noises your ears can't pick up. Your ears are picking those noises up. Your brain is filtering them out. So that's one of the issues. The other is that you've got 2 ears spaced apart on your head, and the microphone is not quite like that, right? So there is spatial variance in the bass, and sometimes the spatial variance can be as little as a couple of inches. We did this trick. Arnaud Dessinet and Arnaud Laborie, actually Arnaud Laborie was the one who did he's the one who did the trick, I guess I should say. Put us in a room. They were talking to us about this thing that we should do. And Arnaud goes, all right, I want you guys to walk around the room while I play this tone. And it was a tone at which there was a lot of, I'm going to say harmonics, but that's not the right thing. Sorry, bass modes in the room. So with waveforming off and a standard bass setup, remember there was still a bass array. It just wasn't set up in a waveforming type setup. So you had front subs and rear subs all operating. When you walked around the room, you would find that the bass changed loudness dramatically. And it would go from loud to quiet, loud to quiet. And there were places where you could stand, where you could just do this. And this rocking motion would actually allow the bass to get quiet and loud, quiet and loud. So you're only moving your head, what, 4 inches or something to do that? And it's enough to have a dramatic audible change. The moment he turned waveforming on, you could do that again, and all of a sudden it didn't have the same effect at all. There was no real change. So you do this in any of those positions, and the bass was exactly the same level. And then interestingly enough, with it off, you walk up near the back wall, the bass is like really loud, and then you turn it on, and the bass is more even. It's not really loud. You get about the same level as you walk around the room. So the reason I'm saying all that is that even if all you care about is this RSP, the bass will still change at different positions around it. The same is actually true to a much greater extent at high frequencies, because at high frequencies we've got things like there are reflections causing some interferences, but the direct response can vary over sometimes small degrees. So some speakers, for instance, have only like a 5-degree or a 10-degree window, often more like a 10-degree window, some cancellations that are caused by the geometry of the tweeter waveguide or something like that. And so in some cases, just based on the aiming of the speakers, a mic position at a single place will pick up a peak or a dip in the response that it could be significant, and you may want to EQ that if you saw that. But if you took a spatial average that's just like this, what you would find, and this is actually, this hand movement is kind of how you would do a moving mic spatial average. So just this around the head area, you'd find that that disappears, and that the average then looks flatter, and now all of a sudden there's nothing to EQ. So it's really critical to do spatial average measurements when you're deciding what needs correcting and what doesn't. I do it, and there's nothing wrong with doing the sine sweep measurements at a single position and looking at those. They're really helpful for timing information. In fact, you can only use a single mic position for timing information. This idea of using the cross correlation time alignment and vector averaging and then trying to use that for time aligning subs and mains probably is going to yield lousy results. So I wouldn't bother doing that. What I would focus on instead is, and for what it's worth, every system I'm aware of does not do that when they do it through the algorithms with sophisticated calculation capabilities. They all do it through a single position, because that's the best way to get an exact position for each speaker. However, for EQing, you don't want to use a single position. And for making decisions about EQing, you don't. So it's really important that you do averaging. Now, what do I do for averaging? Honestly, there is nothing better than an RTA measurement using pink noise and moving mic averages for getting an average response, especially for people that don't have a lot of microphones and a lot of time. There is a lot of information. Like I would say this, if you're doing that, you should also be doing sine sweeps. Like when I first learned about this, my knee-jerk reaction was to say, no, because there's so much good information that comes out of sine sweep. You can get distortion information, you can get time alignment information, you can look at room reflections, the RT time, you name it. That's critical information for evaluating the room. But when it comes to EQing, you really don't need any of that. All you really need to do is understand the amplitude response of the room, the steady state response over a range of positions. And even if all you care about is this one seat where your head is going to sit, you still need to understand what it's like in this area. And so to do that, one of the simplest ways is to take the RTA, set it up for whatever you want, and honestly, I wouldn't do any finer than 1/6 octave. You don't really need it. So 1/6 octave, set it up for forever averaging at like 128K, take the microphone, place it right here, pointed at the speakers that you're trying to get measurements from. The angle isn't that important, but it needs to be pointed there instead of up for this particular measurement, in my opinion. You then take it, and you're going to go like this. You're going to move it up and down in a circle. You're going to move it in and out in a circle. So you're covering this, think of it as like a sphere or even a cube shape, doesn't really matter how you want it, but like a three-dimensional shape that's larger than your head. How much larger? At least 2, if not 3 times larger than your head area, should be covered by the microphone. And you do that until you've accumulated enough averages. How many? Again, kind of up to you. 100 averages maybe is a good idea, something like that. And at some point, it's just not going to change much anymore. You're going to kind of get the best you can get. You've now done the equivalent of probably tens of thousands of individual sine sweeps of information for the amplitude response. So you can see rather quickly, you couldn't possibly take enough sine sweep measurements to equal the amount of spatial averaging you're getting. Some people have this idea that that's cheating because it smooths things out and so you're not seeing the real problems, but it's the opposite. Those real problems are actually not real problems, and so you're over-interpreting things that don't matter. This allows you to actually see the real problems and ignore the stuff that are not. So I hope that's helpful and gives you some good information on how to calibrate your system. I know I really need to do some more hands-on videos where I do something like a moving mic average and then show you how you EQ from that. Give me time, I'm getting there. I've got some new Christmas toys basically that have come in that I'm going to use to do some of that stuff. So I think I'm hopefully going to have some time to do more of that. But hopefully that answered your question, gave you some good information. I want to go back to the channel overall, guys. Thank you for watching. The channel lost a little steam over the summer, after the summer, I should say, because of the hurricanes and other things. We didn't produce videos for a while we got everything straightened out and caught back up. I want to thank everybody, though, who's stayed on the channel and continue to watch. I'm constantly amazed at who my audience is, so I just want to say that I think you guys are all very cool, and I very much appreciate the amount of professionals and experts that watch my channel and even reach out to me after videos. Thank you for subscribing. For those of you who have, those of you who have not, please do subscribe. Share the channel with your friends. If you've got guys that are into AV, you never know who might be into it enough to want to watch my channel. Can't hurt, and I appreciate the effort. It all helps. If you like my videos, please do like them. Comments are really valuable. So one of the things that my channel has been getting a lot of kudos from YouTube on is the amount of interaction between you all and myself. I haven't been as good lately as responding as I had in the past. I do try to do it after all new videos come out, but I do sometimes get video, but I'm busy video. I do sometimes get busy, but I do want to get back into doing more of that again, and I will, and I'll continue to try to answer at least a dozen or so of your comments for each of the videos. So keep it up, everybody. Really appreciate it, and keep the questions coming. You know, it's really helpful when you guys make the payments. Do remember that I charge typically it's going to be a couple $100, at least $300 to $500 to do just like a consult with me on your system. So when you guys give me $15, $20, $25, even $50 to answer questions, you're getting a lot of what you might have gotten out of me at a huge discount, because I'm just going to be honest with you, if you email me and ask me a question, in all likelihood, I'm probably not going to answer it if you're not going to pay for a consult. The reason, and it's not to be a jerk, it's because I just don't have time to do that kind of a thing, given the amount of stuff that comes in. I've got a lot of paying clients, some of which are paying quite a bit of money for my time. They have to take precedent over those who are just asking questions because they want some help. So best way for you guys to get help on a question you have is to allow me to answer it on YouTube, where you pay me, like I said, 15, 20, 25, and I'm not putting a number on it per se, but you know, if you pay me like $1, it's kind of hard to want to justify answering that question versus somebody who pays you $25. But the reason I do it for so much cheaper, and I'm willing to do that but wouldn't do that over the phone, is that I see this as helping to better serve my overall mission, which is getting good information out there in the industry. So to me, it's a win-win when I can do both things. So anyway, thank you. Thank you for watching. Keep the stuff coming.